The government has unveiled what it has described as a transformational plan to invest in infrastructure over the next 10 years. The revised National Development Plan sets out capital spending and investment in utilities of €112 billion for the first 5 years of the plan from 2026 to 2030.
Housing is at the core of the state's biggest ever investment blueprint. The revised National Development Plan aims to unblock barriers to delivering large-scale new homes. But it also promises more money for hospitals, schools, roads and capital projects across every area of government, as well as increased funding for utilities to cater for demands on their services.
We said that investment in infrastructure would be a priority, that we would work to overcome pinch points that are holding back investment and indeed holding back people progressing in their own lives, that we would invest in the infrastructure necessary for our economy and our society.
Housing will receive €28 billion, while water services will get over €12 billion. Transport projects are allotted €22 billion and Dublin's Metrolink gets a ring-fenced €2 billion, while €3.5 billion goes to the electricity network and the grid. Defence spending is also set for a major increase, with a focus on radar, sonar and force protection for Irish troops. But will government stay the course in the event of a downturn?
Well, what we're absolutely determined to do, as best we can, is safeguard the capital side of the budget over the next number of years. And we don't anticipate having to borrow, but we're ruling nothing out.
The opposition criticised the plan for a lack of detail.
Big numbers floating about, but like government plans, when you dig down into the detail, you see where they're again unwilling to deal with the big crises. In terms of housing, there's no additional social and affordable homes going to be delivered over the next 5 years.
In housing, we see a fall off at the end of this decade, which makes absolutely zero sense, given that we know we're going to have to build more than 50,000 homes every year over the next decade.
The government is going all in on infrastructure spending over the next decade, but a key test for the coalition is on delivery, especially in housing. Sandra Hurley, RTE News, Leinster House.
Well, housing delivery is the centrepiece of the National Development Plan. The government plans to boost spending on housing and the infrastructure needed to deliver it by over €40 billion over 5 years to address the chronic shortage of new homes. The funds will be invested in water supplies, sewage connections and the electrical grid.
A lack of water supply, wastewater treatment plants at capacity and an energy grid not fit for purpose. With a growing population and infrastructure creaking, all three issues are key roadblocks holding back housing delivery. In Dublin, local authorities have warned they may not be able to give planning for new homes in coming years unless such deficits are addressed. And this is exactly what the National Development Plan aims to do by 2030. But will €40 billion plus in additional investment be enough to kickstart more developments?
Unless we radically change the way we do things, we're not going to be able to spend that money in the time allotted. And when I say radically change the way we do things, we are very, very tied up. Our whole system is tied up in bureaucracy. However, if we don't allow ourselves and allow people to make decisions and to move at a pace we need to move at, we will not be able to spend this money.
Securing funding for large-scale infrastructure projects is one challenge. Another is finding the labour to complete them.
We've seen many construction companies actually export labour abroad where they're able to see sight of a pipeline of projects. So with the publication of the plan today and the implementation of projects in a timely manner, that will enable the industry plan ahead, ensure it has the resources to deliver and get on with delivering the key infrastructure that this country needs.
Right now, most of Greater Dublin relies on the Liffey for water. Treatment plants are at capacity and in some cases beyond it. Homes built today use twice as much energy as those built 20 years ago, yet rely on an energy grid that's struggling to keep up. The construction sector says the workers are there. The government has put the funding in place. Now the big question is how quickly these essential projects can be completed to fix the crucial infrastructure shortages that are holding the country back. Angus Cox, RTE News.
Our political correspondent Paul Cunningham joins us now from Leinster House. Well, what do you make of it, Paul?
I think if you have a report which is big on numbers and short in specifics, it's almost impossible to judge. And then somewhere out there you've got that public scepticism as well when it comes to Ireland delivering infrastructural projects, when you got the running sword that is the National Children's Hospital. And I think it explains one of the reasons why there's a whole chapter on delivery in this new NDP. And it talks about the measures which have been taken. There's closer coordination with the European Commission on environmental issues. They've got a new division within the Department of Public Expenditure just focused on infrastructure. The Minister, Jack Chambers, has got a new task force to try and speed up delivery, narrow the number of hoops that they have to go through to get these projects on board. So what the government is effectively saying is that we've learned our lessons of the past, and if you look at something like the National Broadband Plan, we're delivering on time and on budget. But the opposition parties, well, they're cynical about it, they don't believe it, they say they aren't in the specifics and therefore can't judge it. And if you look at, say, something like water, under this new plan, revised plan, there's more than €12 billion going into water, and the government says this will help unlock some of the problems they've had on delivering on housing. And yet some of the bigger projects we're hearing about, something like the Greater Dublin Drainage Scheme, like plugging leaks across the country, even if you're talking about tapping the Shannon to try and help Dublin with its water, those are issues we've been talking about since I was environment correspondent back in 2001. So I think what we have to do is that the government is going to have to expect that the public will be sceptical on these issues until they see delivery. And if they don't see delivery, then there'll be no mercy at all for them.
OK, Paul Cunningham at Leinster House, thank you.
The government is allowing scope for €1.5 billion of tax cuts in the budget next year, according to the summer economic statement. But ministers have warned that much of that will be eaten up by a VAT reduction for the hospitality industry, which could cost up to €1 billion. Well, for more on this, we're joined by our economics and public affairs editor, David Murphy. David, it sounds like there won't be much left for tax cuts for workers, will there?
No. So what's happened today is the government have published this summer economic statement. It sets out how much money will be available for tax cuts, and it says there'll be €1.5 billion. But the government is committed to a VAT cut for the hospitality industry. It spoke about it in the general election. It's in the programme for government. And today it said that when it goes ahead with that, it could cost up to €1 billion. So that leaves €500 million for other tax cuts. And there are some other ones which are in the system. But for ordinary workers, they got a tax cut which ended up in a benefit of around €1,000 in the last budget. This time round, it won't be anything like that if the figures we see today are what's announced on budget day. The other thing is that the budget, as currently proposed, is on the basis of there being no tariffs from the US. We now know that that's highly unlikely to happen. So that means the final figures on budget day could vary a good deal, and perhaps more negatively than have been outlined today.
We may find out more next month. David Murphy, thank you for that.
Well, returning now to the publication of the revised National Development Plan, we're joined in studio by Public Expenditure Minister Jack Chambers. Good evening, Minister. Thanks indeed for joining us.
Thanks, David.
The numbers are huge and the numbers are a bit abstract. Most viewers watching this might well be more interested in whether their local road or their local hospital or their local school is going to get the green light, and they'll be none the wiser after reading this plan, because as the opposition have said, there's very few details in it.
Well, no, we've been very clear as we entered this process over the last number of months that this is a real opportunity to drive infrastructure delivery over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's why we've prioritised capital investment to drive housing supply in our economy. We need more homes. But to underpin that, we need to critically focus on the key infrastructure in water, in energy, in transport, for example. And there's record level of investment specifically focused and ring-fenced for those areas. But also when it comes to, many of your viewers would understand, we've given significant headroom to Minister Helen McEntee when it comes to driving more schools and more special education places with the allocation for the Department of Education.
Sure, but there's no details about individual projects, which there have been in previous plans.
So what I think what we've done in this process is set out the sectoral ceilings across every area of government, and that allows the ministers now, through a deliberative process, to prioritise what they're going to deliver in the next 5 years. And I think it's better that ministers work within the budgetary parameters, work on the specific sectoral plans and investment plans over the next 5 years. We've got projects that may not have received planning permission, that may be 3 or 4 years out. And what we want to do is to prioritise what we can deliver quicker and then accelerate overall infrastructure delivery over the next 5 years. And we know that we have an infrastructure deficit across our economy. And that's why, unlike previous national development plans, we're fully funding many of the utilities when it comes to water and wastewater. And if you speak to anyone across our country in villages and towns, we know that that's affecting housing supply and their ability to deliver homes. And that's why we're responding back to that need, again focused on building many more affordable and social homes right across our country.
This is a revision of the plan that was first announced 5 years ago, I think. Construction inflation since then has been in the order of 30%. So is the extra money just plugging that gap rather than paying for anything new?
No, it's not. And if you take, for example, the additionality we're giving to Irish Water, so the Exchequer allocation...
Sorry, does additionality just mean extra money?
No, it means we're fully funding Exchequer and we're providing, for example, an equity injection this year of €2 billion. And the profile of expenditure for water, the total allocation will be €12 billion over the next 5 years. That's fully funding Irish Water to develop and deliver the critical infrastructure in our economy. We're responding back to the feedback we received from many parts of our society on the absence of power generation or our grid, and that's why EirGrid and ESB are being funded with an equity injection of €3.5 billion this year. And construction inflation is at about 1% presently. And so this gives significant headroom to many government departments to drive delivery, and it also brings the overall capital expenditure within about 5% of GNI star, which shows the ambition of this government.
You've mentioned the need to sort out water, sort out electricity. People will understand that if you're to meet your housing targets. But in the plan, it says that you're going to need between 60 and 80,000 extra construction workers to meet those targets of 300,000 houses. You'll get a certain amount of that from the domestic economy. The Taoiseach was talking about bringing in workers from other places in the EU. Where are they going to live?
So we've two parts to this plan. So first of all, there's
just on the question of extra construction workers coming into the country to build houses that we desperately need. There's nowhere for them to live.
So we've got many immigrants coming into Ireland, working in our country, who are working in a lot of the domestic economy here in lots of different sectors. And what we're doing as well is prioritising modern methods of construction and productivity within our construction sector as part of the overall capital ambition we have here. We've also profiled the increase of capital expenditure. It'll ramp up over a series of years, so it's not significant. It's increasing over a number of years so that we can, first of all, train more people through the apprenticeships programme, a big increases in recent years, and also have more efficient modern methods of construction, which delivers more efficiencies in terms of construction output.
You were also announcing today the summer economic statement, which basically lays the groundwork for the budget, which is obviously, people will be interested in that. It's based on the assumption that there will be no tariffs introduced by the United States when everybody accepts that 10% is the minimum that we can expect, and it could get a lot worse. Your numbers are not going to stack up.
So both myself and Minister Donoghue have been clear today that if there's a shift in the global position, or if there's any deterioration in terms of the economic trajectory of our country, we'll revise and revisit the summer economic statement and the predictions that are set out there. We published our annual progress report in the spring, and the figures which we've set out today are based on that assumption. But if things change, we will revisit our overall tax and expenditure policy to do what's sustainable and affordable and responsible for the Irish economy.
OK, well, we'll find out in October. Minister for Public Expenditure, Jack Chambers, thank you.
Thanks, David.